somebody's doing like an assumption or like going to buy a property and they're going to sell or finance with somebody, like let's say somebody has a loan and they're about to go into foreclosure. So somebody says, okay, I'll take it over for you if you sell me the house. That case, you definitely still want to have a title insurance in that scenario, because anything that's tied to that property will come up.
Yes, and actually have that on my list to do because I'm seeing a lot of assumables trending in the marketplace because of the low interest rate to attract buyers. And
Yes. So, well, the only thing is if you're not even including a title insurance, that's just another, like you want to still go through a title company, even if you're going to assume somebody's loan like that, because you don't know what's on the title, because everything that's tied to that property, there could be an abstract of judgment. There's all kinds of things that could be tied to the property, not just that loan. You can take over that property and loan, but now you have everything that came with that didn't get taken care of.
yeah, yeah, and you don't know what you don't know,
Makes
and
sense.
that's exactly what the title commitment and the insurance for is, right?
That's right. When people are asking for advice, hey, I'm thinking about taking over this property. They're about to foreclose. What should I do? And I'm like, you still need to get title insurance because you're about to take over this property. And you don't know what's associated. They might have different loans, but then they might have liens. They might have like things that are still tied to that property in order for you to still get good title. There's not ever a scenario where I would advise not to get title insurance. How to read the title commitment in general, I think is so vital for agents. Really be able to read it. Like you get it schedule A, B, C, and D, and okay, whether or not you want to get involved in it or not, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to call, or yes, it looks good. And being able to communicate that to your client is really important. So actually the first week in December, I'm going to do a how to read a title commitment, just because that's very important. So that's the first one. And then really, if there are findings once that title commitment comes out, so every title company probably has their process. For us here at Native Roots Title, as soon as that title commitment is available, we get it and we look at it. And the things, again, key items, you can look at Schedule B items for any deed restrictions. But Schedule C items are the items you're going to clear to have good title. So if there's anything, like let's say there's 3 tax liens and an abstract of judgment and quite a bit of items to clear, we will let the clients know. As soon as we send the title commitment, we'll let them know. We'll be reaching out to coordinate with them on getting the items Schedule C cleared. So that's really important. I think it is about like communication right up front when you get that title commitment. And if it's something that sometimes abstracts of judgments, it depends on what it is. There's usually law offices that are involved with those. So we have to coordinate and get those legal documents or get releases of liens from these law offices, and that can take some time. And then sometimes they want authorization to release information even to title companies. So then we have to get with your client and either ask them, hey, can you help? I'm going to put you on a 3-way email with this attorney, or can you sign this form giving us permission to speak with this law firm on your behalf? So it just depends on what the items are, how knowledgeable the escrow team is. I just think those process is really important. It's something that should be happening right from as soon as you get that title commitment back.
Right, and the typical turnaround time to get a title commitment is what usually?
Well, right now, because it is a little bit, it's not as busy as it has been in the past. I mean, I'm getting commitments back like 2 to 3 day turnaround. But on average, I mean, if it was busier, and on average, it used to be anywhere from like 3 to 5 days for a residential. If it's a commercial or land, it may be, 7 to 10 days, a week and a half, because sometimes they have to do a little bit more due diligence on those Schedule B items. It just depends. But for right now, we can get them in about 2 to 3 days.
Gotcha. So I feel like in a perfect world, a title commitment would be very straightforward, but I'm betting that's almost never the case.
I would say a very straightforward title commitment is that there's not any liens on the property at all. Like somebody that has, they're still married, there's no like divorces with judgments on there. It's just somebody, this couple bought it, they're about to sell it, they paid it off, and there's no HOA liens, nothing, no liens at all on the property. That's a pretty easy, not easy, but it's nice because it's that straightforward title commitment. They're all straightforward in that it's going to tell you what to do to get clear title,
Right.
the amount of work that it takes and the due diligence that you have to put in to make sure that the clients, all parties get to the finish line, that can vary. So yes, I mean, most transaction has some amount of clearing of title that needs to take place in order to get to that finish line.
Wow. So this are all the things happening almost behind the scenes that.
Absolutely. And what I would say, Omar, too, and it just depends on the agent, is most title companies are working behind the scenes and you don't know what's going on. So we might say, hey, we're working on it. I would say, unless we need you to get involved, it's one of those things, try not to get anybody, let's say there is a lot of work we're doing to get clear title. I'm not going to say, hey, there's a lot. I would say, yeah, there's a lot. We're working on it. If I needed you, I'd involve you. But the main thing is yes, a lot of what title does is behind the scenes. It's the same as like lending. We're working together, but we're not necessarily saying this is what is going on. But, it depends. It is nice to say, hey, we've gotten what we need to release the lien. So we're good and we're clear. Like items like that are important. Those are communicated, or we got to pay off for your loan. So we're ready to go there, and nothing else is needed. Or we got certified copies of the divorce decree, so we're good there, or certified copies of probate. But yeah, there's a lot of behind the scenes that is happening, to get to the finish line. It's really important for if title companies know their agents. I think communication is always the best. Like I said, hey, here's where we're at. I have one client I'm working with right now that before the end of the day, I just emailed her, so I haven't forgotten about you. I just haven't heard back from the underwriter. Things like that help, because if you say, hey, I'll get back to you, and a day goes by, 2 days go by, they don't hear, did she drop the ball? And I just have to say, hey, still working on it, haven't heard back from the parties that I need clarification on, things like that. But I have heard from agents that may be more of a frustration on their end if the team is not communicating or waiting till the last minute. Like, oh, we need this, when we've known since the title commitment came out, or, so I have heard of frustrations from other agents that can be a concern. I have one agent that he just wanted weekly updates, like, can you call me? Just let me know where we're at. So I already know his preference, even if we're still good, we're just waiting for the lender, or depending on what side it is. It was just a matter of communication, to be able to say, this is where we're at. And that's just adding it into our processes of like, okay, weekly, we're going over the files, we're reaching out to the agents and going over where we're at. So I'm sure you probably have seen it more on your end, like being a little frustrated with knowing where, because I'm just saying, like, that's probably more geared to you as an agent.
Yeah. So I totally think of it as like, and I like what you said earlier when you kind of set the expectation as far as, hey, do you want daily updates or do you want weekly updates? Right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes there's not an update to be had, but just setting that little ping saying like, hey, I haven't forgot about you. We're still working it. I know that's the kind of communication I like, because
Right.
that's kind of keeps me on top of things, and I like just those little touch points, and especially if it's very short and sweet. I almost like it when it kind of reads it on the subject line, and you don't even have to really write a long email, because on the
Yeah.
subject it tells you enough of what it is.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I think that is really important just
Mhm.
for all parties, because you are the agent and you want to communicate to your clients. You want to make sure that they're informed. They know that you're doing on your end to make sure that the ball is moving forward. It's kind of interesting if you think about title insurance. It's the only one, I think, out of the insurances that does its due diligence before you get the policy. If you think of like health insurance policies or auto insurance policies or E&O insurance policies, you're paying a premium for these policies that are what if something happens, right? The liabilities that can happen. With
Mhm.
title insurance, all of the due diligence takes place prior to getting your policy. So that, and it's a one time, title insurance is a one time premium. So it's for the life that you have that property. So it's really, when you think about it, it's very cost effective, depending if you're going to have the property for even 10 years. It's a minimal premium. But having that confidence on the clear title is what we do. I mean, that is the whole point of getting title insurance. And there, we want to think we're in the reality is there is fraud that happens in our world. I was just informed of a fraudulent seller on a deal of a friend of mine a couple days ago. So though that stuff does happen, and I'm sure it happened because whoever was working it was beginning to send out seller or buyer information forms, and we asked for all kinds of personal information, and it's very easy. We've had training and know what to do to see if there's a potential fraudulent buyer or seller. There's really some scenarios that come up that are can be a little sketchy, so you want to make sure that you got good title. And then it could be something as, maybe there was somebody that came and you did some construction on your home, some home improvements, and one of the bills didn't ever get paid, and it's like even $500. So they go and file a
Hmm.
mechanics lien or some kind of lien on your property. And so when you're going to sell, all that stuff comes out. I think of any kind of lien or association, like child support liens, mechanics liens, tax liens, abstracts of judgments. Maybe there was a credit card that put a lien, or there's all kinds of different liens that only come out in those searches. And those searches are really diligent. They're searching the property, but they're also searching the individual. They're searching the seller to make
Mm.
sure that there's nothing out there too that is tied to the property. And so just having that confidence that somebody's not going to knock on your
Mhm.
door and say, hey, I own some of that. I own a portion of this house. And title, not everybody's perfect in title insurance. I have seen when I've worked at other companies that people have had insurance claims. There might be a boundary line issue or taxes weren't paid for the previous year. So there are times when um, title, though, you do have to use your title insurance policy. So, but that's what the title companies are there for. They're saying, hey, even we're making sure all the back taxes from the time the seller's been there, HOA fees have been paid. So having that assurance that you're not going to have to worry about somebody else saying like, oh, my grandma owned the house and things like that is really important. So, or even the IRS saying we're about to do something with that, with that land. Those things, it's just very important and necessary. So I'm very passionate about this, you know, just the preaching of how important it is to just a good title company you're working with to make sure that you are getting good and clear title.
Wow. A big takeaway I got from everything you said was just like that peace of mind, knowing
Mhm.
that all that, if you pay for the title insurance, is covered. And at the end of the day, they have you to lean on if something happens, and it's not like you were calling a 1-800 number or trying to stay on hold. There's like direct access and that
Right.
level of customer service.
Absolutely. Yeah, because sometimes you just want to know, like you want to be able to pick up the phone and where are we? That is really, and that's what we do here. Having that customer service piece, the client oriented, we are definite, and you know this, a very client oriented company and really value our customers. And so that piece is very important. And then education is really, I appreciate you putting this on because I do agree with you. In all the real estate, all the siblings, we're kind of like over here. You have, I mean, if you know of the real estate agent, the lender,
Yeah.
the title company is kind of like, oh, title, you know. But it's really, I mean, we are the third party getting it to the finish line, and it's so important, you know, having the relationship with the lender, the agents, and get to say, here's your insurance policy, and you know, we file your warranty deed, and that's the legal document that transfers the property over from the seller to you as the buyer. So it's really a very intricate piece in the real estate process.
I love the imagery you said when title is kind of like the adopted stepchild
I
and real
didn't say
estate is the family.
stepchild, but I said like the adopt.
That's what I heard in my head because it's like I had like a military, a marine saying about the with the different branches, you know, and it's true, right? The title, the insurance, credit repair, the real estate, the lenders, like we all have our parts, and we know. And I think because we work with each other enough, where we consider ourselves family, and that's how we build our relationships. But as far as the attention and what people see from the outside looking in, title doesn't get
Right.
enough love.
No. No, and I'm actually, and I was trying to think of the most appropriate choice of words. So my apologies if it wasn't to everybody's satisfaction, but it's just that we're kind of thought of the sidelines a little bit. But yeah, I'm involved in Texas Land Title Association here in Austin, and I'm probably the youngest in a committee member. And I was speaking with them yesterday on this. Hey, we need some younger people in this generation to be able to kind of have the torch and share the good news of title insurance. So it definitely, even within my industry, is still not that known, and we got a lot of work to do.
Well, that's what I'm here for. Because with my help, we're going to change that. Because marketing and awareness and getting it to the masses with video is one of my specialties.